Water is the hub of life. Water is the matter and matrix, mother and medium. Water is the most extraordinary substance. Practically all its properties are anomalous, which embedded life to use it as a building. Material for its machinery. Life is water, dancing of the tune of solids. Hello, my name is Mohit Sharma from BBC News, and today we have breaking news about water privatization. To start, I would like to discuss the importance of water in everyday life. Water is often known as one of the most essential and abundant substances on Earth. Nearly 70% of the world is covered with water, while around 65% of human body is composed of water itself. In the human body, the brain is made up of 95% water, blood only 82%, and the lungs 90%. It is an imperative molecule that allows Earth to sustain life in the forms of humans, plants, and animals. Water is often used to complete many tasks in the human body and biosphere, like transporting, dissolving, replenishing nutrients, and disposing harmful waste products. Water is a clear, odorless, and tasteless liquid that is often referred to as the universal solvent. The reason why water is called a universal solvent is because of the ability to dissolve in a wide variety of items, like salt and sugars. It is no wonder that water is often defined as the substances that most biological processes depend on. Water is a driver of nature, which allows the cycles of life to continue. Now, I hand it over to my partner, Tegbir Sidhu, to address the issues that the world is facing, which is referred to as water privatization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit, for explaining the benefits of water, which we as humans take for granted. However, it is a shame that we might start to experience shortages of drinkable water as the issue of water privatization is starting to become problematic. Right now, I'm in Africa, the biggest area that privatizes water. But before I get into the issue in Africa, I would like you to understand what water privatization really is. To understand water privatization, one must know that water resources are often owned and maintained by public organizations and local governments. Factors such as the distribution and sanitation of water are handled by the government companies which supply the public. On the other hand, the act of privatization is defined as the transfer of public resources to private companies and facilities. In this sense, water privatization is the transfer of the production, distribution, and management of local water to private companies in order they can bottle water or even handle it and sell it for a commodity price. To understand water privatization, one must know that water resources are often owned and maintained by public organizations and local governments. Factors such as the distribution and sanitation of water are handled by government companies which supply the public. On the other hand, the act of privatization is defined as the transferring of public resources to private institutes and facilities. In this sense, water privatization is the transfer of water to private companies from public, which is like they're able to maintain, distribute, and even sell off the water supply if they wanted to. This is a major issue in places such as Bolivia, Argentina, and right here in Africa. Okay. Now I will be talking to a fellow citizen, Nelson, of the city of Zimbabwe. Now I'll be going to Mr. Nelson's house, a fellow citizen of the city of Zimbabwe.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Nelson, sir. Would you mind if we ask you a couple of questions regarding water privatization in your country?
No, sir.
Mr. Nelson, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Are you ready for them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the first question I'd like to ask you is, how has water privatization changed your life?
Very tragic. My mother died. My wife died early age. I had 3 children. This is my only one left. Raghupati Raghav.
Very good. Next question. Mr. Nelson, where do you normally get your water from?
We normally get water from pond, dirty pond, lakes, dirty.
Okay, another question. Why is it that you don't get the water from the privatization companies?
It's very expensive.
You can't afford it?
No foods.
As you can see from Nelson's testimony, water privatization has a huge effect on Africa. Many areas such as Bolivia, Argentina, England, and Canada are starting to sell off their water to private companies. Major areas sell their water in order to obtain a certain profit or certain percentage of sales. These are having harmful implications on the citizens because they can't afford enough water. This is causing malnutrition and other harmful chronic diseases in citizens, which is raising the mortality rate. Major private companies that take over public water facilities like include Nestle and Decina. This issue has raised many controversial issues. Many people are starting to riot. African people are starting to revolt against the government. Is this water privatization very beneficial? The idea of water privatization has been receiving many controversial opinions and ideas. Many people are believing that this is a harmful thing that is affecting the environment, affecting human health, and affecting the overall demographic of human life, while other people deny and say that it is providing clean and fresh water supply to people in Africa or Canada. However, one must say, is this really beneficial or actually very harmful to the human health? Mohit will give you a more extensive knowledge on where this is actually being used and what benefits, what profit margins, and other factors that revolve around water privatization. Back to you, Mohit.
Alright, thank you, Tegbir. We will now be hearing a short commercial. By the time we come back, we will soon start discussing information about the history of water privatization and where it came from. And will you be the next country where water privatization comes? Thank you.
1/8 of the world's population does not have access to clean water. Most of these people are from developing worlds. This translates into 884 million people. That's the size of North and South America. And the human cost of this problem is significant. Since the beginning of this presentation, 6 people have already died from a water-related cause. Over the course of a year, 3.5 million people will die because of water-related causes, and that is more than the entire population of people living in Toronto. Can you imagine the entire city of Toronto vanishing every single year? This
Welcome back. We will now start talking about where water privatization companies usually aim. And this, as previously seen through Dr. Nelson's testimony, it is quite obvious that developing nations such as Africa also take part in water privatization. Right now, we will be making conference with one of the professors from the University of Colorado, Professor James.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, so would you like to talk about where water privatization usually occurs?
I will be glad to. Thank you, Mohit, for your engaging words. So right now, I will be talking to you about why it is used. It is used in poorly developed countries because they lack the supplies and resources and salary to build a proper sanitation factory. This leads to the outbreak of various terminal diseases such as E. coli, which has the potential of killing masses. By agreeing to sanitation factories, companies give the public cleaner water, but at the exchange that they're able to kind of control and manage their company and sell all the water they want to different companies and different nations. Furthermore, did you know that the Philippines used to only have 22% privatized companies 2008? And now the numbers has jumped to about 83% in 2013. That is a 63% increase, which shows that water privatization companies have really took a huge impact in poorly developed countries and kind of controlled their water system throughout the whole entire area. Another common example is British Columbia. Currently, British Columbia is also has multiple contracts for different companies to privatize their water. The reason why British Columbia does it is because they have an abundant source of water. Currently, 10% of the overall drinkable water is actually in Canada, and most of it's in British Columbia and Ontario. The reason why they do this is to make a lot of money. This is the reason why these areas use water, because the number one reason is poorly developed countries can't afford water, and the second reason is because they have an abundant source of water. These are the two main reasons why they actually privatize water. Poorly developed countries not be able to establish private sanitation factories, while the other reason was because they had abundant source of water like British Columbia. The last reason is debt. If a company is in debt and needs to pay off their money, they usually privatize water. This happened in Bolivia. Bolivia was very under debt because they could not pay the World Bank the money. The World Bank offered a solution in which they were able to pay off their debt by privatizing their water to private companies. This did not turn out good because the citizens started to revolt against the government and overthrew the privatized companies. Currently, there are areas where water privatization is proving to be very good and very safe, while other areas are starting to see the greed and corruption of water privatization companies as they start to take water from one country and give it to another. Is water privatization really good or bad? This topic, Mohit will express both sides in a fair and just manner.
Water privatization is a process which is basically able to provide a country with clean water. So if we consider the facts, there are many countries that are in debt, such as Bolivia, as mentioned by my fellow anchor. Countries such as Bolivia are unable to pay their debt. So basically those countries sign a treaty with the World Bank, and therefore this leads the World Bank in taking care of all the responsibilities of their water just by privatizing their water. Therefore, this leads both the companies that clean their water and the countries that get clean water into a win-win situation, as both the country and the companies are having a fair deal. Finally, water privatization is a process which is able to create many plants, factories, and facilities in many countries. It is a known fact that many new companies of water privatization opening in developed areas are able to provide many new jobs. So basically, by privatizing water, they are able to create more jobs for individuals that can now make more money and feed their families. Therefore, water privatization is considered as a process of having so many pros, as it is able to help developing countries, provide jobs, and finally, the most important thing, save many lives and protect the citizens of poor countries from dying. Curing diseases, water is able to do anything because water is a natural resource. Who has emitted our water? In contrast to the pros of water privatization, I will now discuss the cons. First of all, water is a need for humans. It is a necessity needed for everyone. Why should water be paid for? Water is a natural substance which is a part of our blood. It is in our bloodstreams. It makes up the entire human body. Why should we pay for something that is important to us? That is one of the major cons. Water is supposed to be a natural substance. Why should we pay for it? Secondly, there are many companies out there which get blinded by the outcome of their revenue, making too much money. As we noticed, there are many companies who want to increase their sales. How do they do this? They want to decrease their standards in their water. They soon start backstabbing all their customers, and then they soon start stabbing the back of their customers, and then they will increase the prices. This will lead many people of developing nations to pay more for water. Why is this needed? The cost of this water then increases, causing many individuals to pay more. Today water is $1, tomorrow it will be $2. What is the outcome? The expense of water is starting to increase, and the standards is starting to decrease. Another major issue of water privatization is the loss of many of our aquatic habitats. As you have noticed, many of the plants have started opening nearby oceans and other bodies, which are now dumping all the dirty water material into the lakes, which is polluting it and most importantly killing the wildlife. We will now conclude this presentation with Dr. Xavier. Thank you.
The major companies involved are Nestle and Talisman Energies. These companies pick around billions of liters of water from different places, such as poor countries and rich countries. They take water from the billions, and they often bottle them and sell it to different countries. They often make a huge profit, as Nestle had made over billions and billions of dollars in net projected revenue in the last 2 years. There are various demographic changes that the privatization of water could bring about. To start, one must know that each country has a carrying capacity, which illustrates the maximum amount of people they can support. The carrying capacity is directly dependent on the amount of resources like water and food that the nation has. By privatizing water, a private company takes drinking water from fresh rivers and bottles it to different nations. The result of this is that the reduction of carrying capacity of a country. People in that country will start to die due to the lack of water, causing dehydration and other diseases until the population reaches a number that can be supported by the leftover water. To conclude, water privatization is a hugely controversial topic. One could say that it's good, one could say it's bad, because it can be debated both ways. The approach is very common throughout history and is still used in many developing countries. Water has been turned from a natural resource into a resource that can be vigorously traded. It has already been recognized as a very profitable business, with business such as Nestle making billions. However, it has shown to exhibit demographic changes in human populations in a positive and negative manner. It is also clearly evident that the world is starting to experience a huge shortage of water in the coming years. Many predict that this will cause water to match the price of oil. Due to this, Canadians need to manage the water carefully to guarantee a sufficient amount of water to support the community in the near future. Currently, Canada has 20% of the world's fresh water and should develop more efficient ways to reuse our water. Instead of selling our precious water resources, we should invest in sanitary facilities to combat the upcoming deficit of water.
As Benjamin Franklin once said, when the well is dry, we know the worth of water. Stop water privatization before it's too late.
Well, thank you, Tegbir. Now we will be heading for a break. Thank you. Be seated. Keep smiling.
That's blooper. That's blooper. That's blooper shit.
Thank you.